Hello and welcome back to Life on the Wrist. Hope you all are doing well today. We're going to be looking at a really cool Universal Genève reference 2122, manufactured in 1940. This is a really nice military style Universal Genève. I think it's quite interesting because obviously with the news of Breitling acquiring the brand Universal Genève, a lot of questions have been asked about what is going to come out from the company. And I think looking back at pieces like this that Universal Genève produced in the 1940s gives us a little bit of a flavor of hopefully what is to come, or at least what collectors hope is to come for this brand. So very excited to jump into this piece to give you some information about it, tell you a little about the history of Universal Genève and this specific reference as well as its movement. So without further ado, let's get into it. Universal Genève has received a lot of enthusiasm over the last several months, given the news that the brand was purchased by Breitling. Collectors are hoping that this will mean the revitalization of a brand with rich history of watchmaking. But many are approaching this news with a skeptical mindset because with such an important historic brand comes a huge expectation and responsibility. Collectors have obviously been looking back at the archives of what was produced by Universal Genève and wondering what will be the first piece released. We are definitely a few years from that fateful day, but exploring vintage Universal Genève will fill the void while we await the great news. Universal Genève is known for many watches, the Polerouter, Uni-Compax chronographs, Tri-Compax chronographs, and the Golden Shadow, but what cannot be overlooked is the plethora of other watches that they produced outside of the lines mentioned previously. What you see in front of you and many other military-style watches were a big part of the brand's history. The watch today is almost the quintessential vintage steel watch that collectors love. These military-style watches were produced by Universal Genève throughout the 1940s into the 1960s. This Universal Genève was manufactured in 1940, to be precise. The watch has a stainless steel case, as you can see, that's in really great condition. The case is 34 millimeters in diameter, making it, to some, the perfect size. The watch has very few signs of polishing, but does have signs of wear, as to be expected with a watch that's worn and loved from the 1940s. So if you look at the case back, you can see some scratches on there. But if you look at the overall condition of the case, it's extremely sharp. The lugs are long and sharp, with 3 angles of polish still visible. So if you look at the bottom left lug, you can see where you have that outer polish, that center polish, and then an inner polish, and you can see that on each of the different lugs. So to me, makes me think that there's very, very little polishing that has been done to this specific watch. It's an extremely attractive part about this specific watch, and I think the original design dimensions are still visible, and I think that's a really important thing for many collectors. The watch has, as you can see, an unsigned crown. It's likely a replacement from the original, just given the fact that this is a stainless steel case and has this sort of gold copper tone to it. The watch has a white dial that has a really beautiful patina to it, as you can see. The dial has that seconds track that runs on the outside of the watch, with the hour numerals on the inside of the watch. This dialing gives it a very military-like feel to it. As you can see, the blued hands are likely replaced or have been reloomed due to the color of the loom being different from that of the dial. But I think the design of the hands still speak to the sort of military styling that this watch has, and the aesthetic that obviously Universal Genève was going for. I really do think that the condition of this is really great, and for a stainless steel piece is a really exceptional example. I'll try to give you a little bit of a close-up of the dial here. It really is an attractive piece, and I really love the seconds around the outside, the really beautiful sort of larger hour indicators, coupled with that nice brown patina dial. As we look to the watch for more details, if you flip over the watch, you'll be able to see some details, and we'll have to see if I can get the focus on these numerals, but if you look at this area of the watch, what you'll see is the case serial and reference number for the watch. The reference number 21222 doesn't seem to have a ton of information online. I can't find a ton of information about that specific reference from Universal Genève, but there is some documented information about research that has been done using to identify the use of serial numbers by Universal Genève. There'll be a link to that on the article on lifeonthewrist.com if you want to read it. But to summarize, in 1936 or 1937, the company began stamping serial numbers on their cases. At that time, they used a 4-digit number, but sometime in 1940, they switched over to 5-digit numbers. And as I mentioned, the serial number on this watch is 21222. So this was one of the first 5-digit serial numbers used. There isn't a clear understanding of how the numbers were assigned, but there has been some work done where a photograph archive was put together of watches from the 1940s and 50s to understand sort of the logic of the serial number convention. To give you a quick summary, the first number indicates the material used for the case. This one begins with 2, meaning it's stainless steel, so that matches. The second number indicates the type of movement, 1 being time only, 2 being chronograph. 3 indicates the size of the base plate housing the movement in relation to the caliber used. And then the last 2 numbers indicate the case design. 99 numbers were available to define the visual aspects of a case, but in order to aid the understanding of this numeric system, we have to look at a few examples, and those are outlined on the article that I mentioned, so be sure to go and check out the article on lifeonthewrist.com for more information on that. But I think this guide and the research is really helpful when looking at vintage Universal Genève, understanding serial numbers, but also identifying if case backs have been swapped. When you remove the case back of this watch, you'll see the Universal Genève stamp as well as Enver steel written on the case back, inside case back. This describes the fact that the case was manufactured using Enver steel, an early stainless steel alloy. Many collectors today will actually focus on specific types of steel alloys for their collections. For example, black dial Enver steel Uni-Compax watches are exceptionally rare and sought after by collectors. This is a time-only piece. One thing that's obvious that we need to discuss is the caliber used in this watch. It runs on the famous caliber 263 movement. This caliber was introduced by Marc Favre as the caliber 595 and was sold to Universal Genève, who used them as their caliber 262 and 263s. Marc Favre was a watchmaker who established his factory in Bienne in 1904. Favre inherited the Comoret branch of his father's Favre Frères operation. What's really interesting is Marc's son, Robert, took over the business when Marc passed away in 1930, and so this watch is really part of Robert's story. He ran the business with his brothers Jean and Paul. Interestingly, Robert went on to become the managing director of Omega in 1954. So obviously has a very important part to play in the history of Swiss watchmaking. So what's really interesting is during this era, it was extremely typical for watch brands to source items like their dials, movements, and cases from companies that specialized in these types of production. The 565 was introduced in 1940. And so this is probably an earlier version of this caliber. The caliber has a 39-hour power reserve and has a really nicely brushed finishing to it. Nothing too crazy, but a really nice overall looking movement. There will be pictures of the movements on lifeonthewrist.com, on the article on lifeonthewrist.com, so be sure to check that out. What's really interesting is earlier versions of the caliber 595 from Marc Favre, as well as the 262s and 263s, didn't actually come with shock protection, but later versions were equipped with ink block shock protection. If you look at the images of this, the movement that is inside of this Universal Genève, it looks as if this one does have ink block shock protection installed. And then obviously you have the Universal Genève name and caliber number on the watch. As I mentioned, this watch is 34 millimeters in diameter. I'm sorry, I have to remove my watch just to give you a little bit of a wrist shot. But as I mentioned, the watch is 34 millimeters in diameter. The lugs are relatively long and straight. And so let me get the focus here for you. So what you'll see is quite an attractive looking watch, and on the wrist really brings to life a lot of the characteristics that we've discussed so far. As I mentioned, the lugs are relatively flat, and so it allows for the watch to actually not sit too small as a 34 millimeter piece, but remain at a size that I think is very wearable in for today's standards, especially for those who are interested in vintage watches and like the overall sizing and proportions of them. Beyond its overall aesthetic appeal, this time-only military-style Universal Genève has really something for everyone. The style, the case condition, and beautiful dial have such great look to them, and the movement obviously is a fairly historic and important for the history of the brand that so many collectors love. And I wonder if Universal Genève will introduce these military-style watches when they are revitalized in the years to come. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at this really beautiful military-style Universal Genève reference 21222. As I mentioned throughout the video, I think this watch is in really exceptional condition, considering it is, going on 90 years old. It's still running really, really well, and I think is a testament to what Universal Genève was then, back in the day, and what I think collectors are hoping that Universal Genève will be as the brand sort of becomes revitalized by over the next couple of years after its acquisition by Breitling. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about this Universal Genève. My question for today is, do you own Universal Genèves that are not sort of the traditional Uni-Compax, Tri-Compax, Polerouter, or Golden Shadows? I'd love to know if you have military style pieces from Universal Genève, so let me know in the comment section below if you do own them, and tell me a little about the story related to it. As I always do, there will be an article on lifeonthewrist.com where you can read about this piece, as well as see more pictures of the watch, the movement, as well as the inside case back, which are all things that we sort of talked about throughout this video. So there will be a link to that article in the show note, in the description of this video below. If you are new to Life on the Wrist, be sure to subscribe to the channel and share this with a friend who might be interested in watches. And if you wouldn't mind liking this video, it really does help me out. With that said, guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and until next time.